All right, guys, we're back. Anthony Bevilacqua here on the AB Fitness Show. And today I have with us a special guest, Mr. Mike. Mike is one of our clients. He is down 40 pounds in a year. That is unbelievable progress. But besides that fact, Michael is also a very young guy. He's 65 years old. So people tell me all the time, oh, I'm too old. I can't do this. This is just Michael's 65 years old and he was able to lose 40 pounds in a year. So I had to have Michael come on here and give us a whirl on how this actually happened for him and how AB Fitness came into his life. And I think one of the major things that I love about Mike was he hit his goal with us very early. And his goal wasn't weight related at all, actually. His goal was, to understand eating and just understanding how to eat. So he says this all the time, and he'll probably say it as soon as I let him start speaking, but he doesn't consider himself dieting, which is amazing. So he lost 40 pounds. He's not dieting technically, right? Like he's not considering himself dieting, but he hit his goal in the sense that he understands food more. So Michael, welcome on the show. I'm honored to have you here. And I love that you're on this side of it now.
Thank you, Anthony. Glad to be here. I hope I can help.
Yep, yeah. You are. You're going to be a big inspiration for everybody else. So Mike, tell everybody your story. So how did you end up here 40 pounds down in 1 year? Let's rewind time and go back exactly 1 year ago. How did you end up where you are right now?
Right. So I guess the advantage I had was I retired at the very beginning of the year. So it gave me a little bit more time to focus on myself. And one of my personal goals was, yes, to lose weight, but to just be more healthy. I grew up in an Italian household where the focus was not on understanding carbs and proteins and fats. It was more,
Finish what's on your plate.
Finish what served, which my mom was a great cook, and then I also a great cook. So I guess I just put on the weight as I went on, also working long hours, et cetera, et cetera. But then in the beginning of the year, I said, all right, I need to try to focus on eating a little bit better. My problem was I really was, I'll use the word ignorant, intentionally ignorant to the nutrition side of life, how proteins and carbs and fats and how many you're supposed to have, et cetera. And so I lost a couple of pounds before I met you. And then with you, I learned about nutrition. And we started at the time on what I would call a diet, a certain number of proteins and carbs and fats per day and documenting it, et cetera. And it was a learning experience. It happened pretty quick for me, but it was a learning experience to understand that if you're going to be eating pasta tonight, don't be eating bread during the day. And if you're going to go have a few drinks at night, same thing, watch your carbs, et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of enjoyed it, but I also had pretty good results fairly quickly. So that was motivation as well to keep going. And as you said before, my goal really was to view food differently, which I now do. I don't want anything. If something's, being cooked or is going out for dinner or whatever, I'll have it. I don't feel like I can't have anything because of dinner. And I'm aware of it. And I have sort of, it's baked into my mind about make sure you got proteins when you're looking at a dish, which I never did before. And it's worked for me. I've also exercised. I've been going to the gym with you guys 3 days a week pretty religiously, unless I didn't feel well for the last, 7-8 months or so. And I walk. I've been going to the gym 3 times a week, and I walk basically 5 times a week, just around the neighborhood. The route is 2.25 miles, and I've been trying to do that 5 times a week, which is good, just to get the body moving, et cetera. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's all I've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's selling himself short here. He comes to us 3 times a week and he weight trains, but this guy's doing heavy goblet squats, dumbbell deadlifts. I mean, this guy is really, he's working hard. Most people say, "Oh, I can't do that." No, I just can't do that. That's a lot of weight. And Mike doesn't shy away from a good challenge. So that's always good. So I want to circle back, Mike. You mentioned that, when you work, you retired this year and that's a great feeling, but you said that, you worked very, very long hours. So knowing what you know now, as far as nutrition goes and just exercising and staying active, what would you say to somebody who did what you did as far as like you worked so many hours, you had no other time to take care of your body?
Right. First of all, I would have eaten differently. So my morning breakfast, which may have been eggs and a bagel or cream cheese and bagel, whatever, would have been more protein, maybe some smoked salmon and maybe a protein shake. I remember going to the company cafeteria for years, and a lot of the young guys would be getting protein shakes, and I didn't even know what it was, to be honest. I was just getting my eggs and bacon and sausage. So I definitely eat better, that's for sure. And then if you could try to make the time, and one of the really, really positive things about the gym with you guys is it's only 30 minutes. And I don't know, I guess for people who may be watching this that are doing it, you already know this, but for me, psychologically, it's very, very easy to think it's 30 minutes. Like I'm going to leave here, I'm 5 minutes away, I'll be home in 35 minutes. Not, an inconvenience at all. And when you see the results, then it's obviously the motivation.
So going back in time then, would you have, because you worked, we've had this conversation before off air, were you working crazy hours? Would you
Right.
have found time then to start exercising then?
Well, over the years, I tried working out at lunchtime when I was in Midtown. I joined the gym across the street. But that only lasted a couple of months. So you've got to be committed to it, depending on what type of job you have, obviously will dictate that. But for me, I couldn't get committed enough to make it a higher priority, which I should have, right? I was more focused on the job and making sure I was be there for the staff and, answer my emails and this, that, and the other thing. But if you can just commit to that 30 minutes 3 times a week, had I known the results I got now for just that little bit of time benefit, then I definitely would have chose to do that. But I wasn't working with a trainer. I wasn't doing just weight training, right? I was doing whatever I would be able to get to at the gym, whatever was open, treadmill or weights or whatever it was. So the benefit wasn't there for a 30-minute workout either. But that would be a focus for me if I was advising somebody on what to do.
Awesome, Mike. So let's talk about, how do you feel now? I mean, now we're going to fast forward 1 year later, you're down 40 pounds. Let's talk about your health. Cause that's, we always talk about, oh, I'm down in weight. I look better. My body fat's lower. But aside from that, we sometimes forget about health. And right now, health is the most important thing, especially with what's going on. So how do you feel now health wise? And let's talk about that.
Yep. I feel great. I've always had an extremely high energy. I mean, 40 years going to Manhattan, et cetera. But so I can't say my energy is better, but I feel better. I'm much more nimble. I'm not, out of breath when I try to tie my shoes. Walking the 2 or the 3 miles, I actually look forward to doing it. I just, obviously my waistline is much, much smaller, so I'm much more comfortable just moving around and doing, everyday things.
Good.
Yeah.
And that's the most.
Now you talk about health. I just had my appointment last week, my cardiologist. I did have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, which I'm taking meds for. And so if I can get off of them or lower the doses, that would be great. But he said to me that my cholesterol was fantastic, to use his word. He said it's at a level that's what someone who just had a heart attack that they would design or hope for someone to have their levels at is what I'm at.
Awesome.
Blood pressure's down. So everything's in the right direction. It's only been a year, which I guess matters, but definitely everything's in the right direction.
So it's almost like you're getting younger.
Yeah.
You said you feel more nimble, you're getting healthier. That's all good stuff. And, like I said, I don't want to feel like I'm picking on your age, but so many people check out after a certain age. And you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm too old, I can't. I mean, the amount of times I've heard that. But it's like, no, you have another 30 or 40 years, God willing, to be on this earth. Why not make that the best time ever? And working out and exercising and taking care of your body the way you are essentially reverses, time, in the sense that you're going to be doing more now than you probably ever were before. And this is just the beginning, which is really, really nice to hear. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, and that's part of why it was one of my goals. Obviously, everyone wants to feel healthier, but if you're, and I've been blessed with handicaps or disabilities or anything. So if you're able to do that, lift the weights and go for the walks. Part of my goal is, yeah, you say, I say I just retired, but also I want to enjoy retirement. I want to be able to see my daughter get married and grandchildren and play golf and do all these things, and to be healthy obviously will allow you to do it, or much more likely allow you to do it and be happy you're doing it.
Right. Mike, you're a very, I would say, a very process driven guy. You mentioned on this podcast, whatever you want to call it, video interview, you mentioned goals. I set a goal. I had a goal. Can we, right now, as we're recording this, it is January. So many people have set that New Year's resolution of, okay, this is the year I'm going to take care of myself. So let's talk about goals. And I think this is a great question for you, because obviously you set a goal and you conquer it. So what goes into your goal setting process, and how do you go about executing on that? Like, you set a goal to lose 40 pounds, in a year, or a little bit more than that. It's just not many people actually achieve that. So let's talk about like just setting goals and how you set the goals for yourself. Because you actually set a goal the last time we spoke, to lose another, 12 to 15 pounds, by a certain date. So let's talk about goal setting.
Right. So I don't focus on the date, because I learned actually from you, it's a change in mindset. It's really a change in lifestyle, change in mindset. So in order to attain the goal, let's say in my case, lose another 12 pounds, I don't want to say, okay, I got to lose that 12 pounds in 3 months, and then I want to focus on giving up certain things. I don't need to do that. I want to focus on continuing that change in mindset, continuing that how I view food, and doing the right things. And I don't weigh myself, as I was telling you earlier, I don't weigh myself every day. I'm not a fanatic about that. But when you feel like you had a quote unquote bad weekend from a food perspective or not. So I'd say every week to 2 weeks I'll weigh myself, so I know what's going on. But I focus more on just sticking with the how I view food. Make sure I'm not having too many carbs, or having enough protein. I think that's probably one of the most important things that I learned. I do the protein drinks. I don't do them very, very often, but if I'm hungry and I kind of feel like I've been eating a lot, I'll do the protein drinks, and for me, they work great. I love doing it. And I think they taste good too. So my goal setting is really around what I think is a reasonable goal without a specific time frame. So for instance, in my head, I'm thinking 12 pounds, and I'm thinking 4 months ish, whether it's 5 months or 3 or 6, doesn't matter to me, as long as I'm on that trajectory to get there without any problems, and I'm happy doing it. I think that's the big deal. I don't want to feel like I'm missing something just so I can lose the weight. In the beginning, I would say I was more mindset of on a diet, making sure I drank so much water, making sure I documented everything. And I guess I learned enough now to know how to do that, and not be a cheater, because you won't get the results. But I don't mind watching what I'm doing. It's actually good.
Yeah, it's funny because I posted up, I'm going to read this directly, what I posted up in the, we have a private Facebook group for all of our members. So I actually posted this quote the other day, and I think it pretty much summarizes how you lost this 40 pounds. People do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. So I think that that's super important for where you're at with all of this, because essentially, like you said, you don't feel like you're dieting. You're still, like we were talking about this a little bit earlier, you had the lasagna on the holidays, and you had, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you made those proper substitutions in order to fit that in. And most people, like you said, they set a goal and they say, okay, I'm going to set this goal and I'm going to deprive myself because I have to hit this goal by this certain date. And then what happens? How many people do you know? They lose 20 pounds, but then they gain back 40.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So,
No, I agree with that quote. Actually, that's excellent.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that it sums up pretty much, where you're at with things. But I just love the way, like you told me, like, I want to lose about 12 pounds. And I'm like, where do you get 12 from? Most people like 10, 20, you're like 12. And I'm like, that's because and just very meticulous with how he thinks. So it's good. So I want to circle back, Mike. You mentioned in the beginning that there was a learning curve to the nutrition. So let's talk about it. So we sit down the first time, I explain to you, okay, Mike, this is the plan. This is how we're going to get there. So now you receive your customized meal plan from us. What happens? What's the next, walk me through that, like first week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yep. Yep. So making sure that I got the right food in the house. So you have, very good examples of what counts as a protein, what counts as a carb, et cetera. And as I said, I did write down absolutely everything. And one of the things that you did was send me a picture of everything you eat for a week, which was kind of funny in the beginning, but it was good. And it allowed me to buy the stuff I need to have in the house. And even to this day, which is whatever, 8-9 months later, I still eat similar things as a protein source or as a fat source or a carb source. But I also now have learned that with that balance of X amount of carbs, protein, et cetera, each day, if I go out to a restaurant, I know what I'm looking for. So many, many more times now, without feeling like I'm giving something up, instead of getting this huge, veal parmesan with side of pasta and bread and all that jazz, I get like, tuna salads with peanut dressing, and I love it, that kind of thing. So it was a learning curve, just learning. And it's not to deprive. So I may go out this weekend and get something that's unhealthy, but I don't do that, very often. I don't want to do it. Let's put it that way. I don't eat nearly the quantity of food that I used to eat either. I used to eat much, much more before I would feel satisfied or full or think the meal is over.
Yeah, I know. It's funny how like those habits change. Like you were talking about it earlier, and you said, your wife was telling you how much smaller your food is now. And it's like,
Right.
that goes a long way in keeping the weight off, which, you've lost 40 pounds over the year, but you've kept off more than 40.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. That's great.
Yeah. 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 Even I think it was, well, I know I was telling you a couple of months ago, even on vacation, we were away for, I don't know, 8 or 9 days. And I actually lost 2 pounds. And that was not from depriving myself of anything. It was just eating. I think I went to the gym 3 times in 9 days or something like that. Nothing crazy. Some walking basically. But yeah, it's definitely a different, much more pleasant experience for me to eat and even think about the meal I'm going to have in advance,
Yeah.
So definitely a benefit.
That's also another good point. Most people just mindlessly eat, but now you're actually more conscious of the fact that, okay, I need to eat this. I know I need to eat that. And that goes a long way too.
Right.
So,
And looking backward in the sense that if I know what I already ate for breakfast or lunch and I go out to dinner, I know that without, again, feeling obligated to get something, I'll get something different to fulfill that balance.
right. Good. That's awesome. So we're making this sound all hunky-dory. You sign up for this random personal training, everything just goes smooth, but it's never always smooth. There's always stuff that goes on in the background that, we always have adversities in life. Things just come up. And you've had some health hiccups along the way here, but you still managed to stay on course. So let's talk about those, those experiences. Like you had some things pop up health-wise, but it didn't derail you. So what was your ability to stay on track despite having hiccups where most people would have said, this is just, I'm having some health stuff. This isn't for me. I'm going to put everything on pause.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that experience.
I think the simple answer to that is it was successfully having a change in mindset. So when I was not feeling well for, I don't know, 10 days, almost 2 weeks, didn't go to the gym and couldn't walk or whatever, my mindset was, to continue to get healthy. And so when I got back, it was just to continue to do what I was doing. It wasn't out of, I don't know, it wasn't out of desire to conquer anything. It was just my mind said, this is what you need to start doing again. You need to start eating better, etc. So it really, really is for me a change in mindset. I don't know how else to describe it. It's gone from not really knowing much about nutrition to at least knowing enough to manage what I'm putting in my body.
Right, right. So, and what do you think helped you make that shift mentally? Because some people have a hard time with that. And like, you know, I've said this so many times, but a lot of like health and fitness stuff, it's all mindset. It really is. It's all mindset. Like the X's and the O's of it is not hard. It's just a matter of mindset and having like that will to say no to certain things so you can say yes to other things. But let's talk about mindset a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, it started with commitment, knowing in the beginning of the year that I need to do certain things to change. I committed myself to making sure I was going to do it. And it started with learning with you and learning about nutrition. And once I had that, it was, I guess, easier when you start seeing results. So I lost, 3 pounds and 5 pounds and 6 pounds. And it felt good. And like I said before, it was not difficult going to the gym, especially much easier during the summer, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, walk in with shorts and a workout shirt or whatever, and you're done in 30 minutes. It's like, and then I think, and I've always had this when I was much younger, I was a good ball player, whatever. And anytime, you had to work out in the gym or you had to lose weight for whatever reason, it always was a chore to do that. And I'm not looking at it this way now. I'm just looking at it as it's part of what I'm going to be doing all the time. It's I guess commitment is the word, to think through you can do it. And someone told me once before, Mike, you're a very successful guy. You could do it, because I was telling them about I got to lose weight because I was very overweight. And they were like, you're a very successful guy. You've accomplished a lot of things. Don't you think you could handle committing to lose weight for your own body? And that kind of stuck with me. And then when I got to this year and retired and knew I needed to do it and met you, things clicked.
It's funny because we have a lot of successful clients, career-wise, that come to us, and it's almost like certain people, not that they block out their health, but it's just like they put it on the back burner to put their careers in front of them. And I get that. But sometimes by doing that, you also, you downsell yourself. I mean, you get unhealthy, you have all these health issues, you can't live life to the fullest, which is why you're doing this to begin with. So most people kind of lose sight in that. And I'm glad that that person told you that, because it kind of woke you up. And I'm glad that you told that story here, because that's
Right.
going to have someone listening to this saying, hey, I need to be able to do the same thing.
Yep, absolutely. It's true.
All right, so let's give everyone your biggest success tip. So what if someone listening to this says, I want results like Mike, everybody wants to be like Mike, like the old commercial, but what would you tell them? What's been your biggest secret to success?
It's commitment. It's knowing that you don't win every day. No one wins every single day all the time. Like you said before, it's not like, a string of 365 days of wins. But if you're committed to it, then, or in my case, at least, if you're committed to it, then any little bump in the road or any sort of side turns, you'll get back on the straight road again, and you'll continue doing what you're doing. Don't let the bumps and don't let the downturns be so negative to you. God bless that you have the health to do it and do what you're doing. Just get back up and just continue. I mean, that's like you said before, at my couple of health issues during the year, thank God were not serious. They were enough to stop me from exercising or eating what I wanted to eat or whatever for, I don't know, several weeks, twice during the year. But once I felt better, there was really never a question about when or if I was going to continue what I was doing. It was just a matter of as soon as I felt better. So staying committed to it. And again, for me, not making the goals so onerous that you're giving things up. You're not giving up time with your taking your kid to school or doing something. Like make your for me, making my daily plan, which was easier without the work, that's a big deal, is really what's important. I schedule my time 2, 3, 4 weeks. I'm already scheduled 4 weeks in advance for the gym. So I know what time I'm going every day, 3 times a week. And things come up where you may have to change it, but as long as you're committed, then I change other things around that. So commitment comes in a lot of different ways.
And I think you perfectly summarized that, Mike. I think that was beautifully said. And I think this is going to help a lot of people. So, guys, if Mike can do this, you can definitely do it. Mike, I'm super proud of you for everything that you've accomplished. And I know this is just the beginning, but I'm so glad that we were able to kind of give you that new lease back on life. And like I said, this is just the beginning. So imagine what another year is going to bring to you. So all good things. And if you're listening to this and you're interested in changing the way that your body looks, you can head on over to abfitnesscenter.com, fill out that form, and then I'll talk to you on the other side. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Anthony, and your staff. You guys are great. Much appreciated.